pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order. Those present are Darrell Baden, Kerry Matthews, Charles Vance, and Steve Harrell. This is the April 16th meeting of Lincoln County Commission. And our first order of business is to approve the minutes of the special session of the Lincoln County Commission meeting that was held on March 11th, 2015 at 4:30 p.m.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. That being unanimous, the motion carries. Next, we have to approve the minutes of the regular session of the Lincoln County Commission meeting that was held on March 26th at 6 p.m.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. That being unanimous, the motion carries. Next, we have public comment. I believe Rick McDowell is signed in for public comment.
I have. Thank you, sir.
See
Is anybody on
here?
You want this?
Look, you're on one son and
I've got a batch of things I want to share with you, folks.
I watched
Sorry.
He's only one.
I wanted to give you an update on the Green Wastewater Project. Okay? Here is, that's the latest drawdown request from the DEP. And
All the same. All the same.
yeah, it's just one page. This is the most recent. It's phase 5, $657, almost $658,000, and we are drawing to a close with that. We actually have one more system that we will put in, and the very top right-hand side shows you what's left for completing the systems. That's 14,000 out of the 44,000 that's left. I had a chance to meet with the DEP, and one of the concerns has been, okay, they're not going to give us any more money. We've been on this for 10 years. Shouldn't we try to capture somehow everything, as much as we can, about what we've learned and get it someplace so that it can help the state, help Lincoln County, and help some other people. So the DEP has agreed that we can use whatever money is left after we put in this last system to do what they call an asset management plan, which, I mean, it is a plan for how you manage what you've got, but it can also be the history of the project, all the research that we've done. So there'll be a formal document that'll have that in. There'll also be a website that will have that in. Maybe the website can be housed both here at the, the county website and also at the DEP. So I was really happy that they finally agreed to do that. So I'm not sure exactly when that means we will officially close down, but we're going to have enough money to at least continue it to do this other
When
kind of
did
stuff.
you do your last testing, Mark?
Well, we're in the, that's not bad. Okay. One of the things, we've got these direct discharge systems where the final effluent goes into the creek. Every 5 years you have to renew your permit, it's a federal permit for that. The state now has required that everybody in West Virginia, not just this project, when they renew that permit, they have to do testing for the very first time, which is a good thing. And they have to test for BOD, TSS, pH, and fecal. So one of the things that they also agreed on Friday when we met was that I could do that testing for all the systems in the project. So I'm in the process of getting that done. And then that will go into the DEP website and people will have their permits for the next 5 years. Yeah, so I'll bring you the report from that. We're going to have some that are a little out of compliance, so we're going to have to go in and figure out why. Hopefully it'll be an easy fix. But
Sure it will.
thank you for your optimism. He is optimistic.
So after that, the next 5 years, people will have to be responsible for that?
The people, well, you have your permit. Your permit's good for 5 years, and the local, the Left Fork Wastewater Management Association, Mrs. Clay, is a member of that. As a volunteer board, they have a budget. They charge the people who are in the watershed and who have been in the project $8 a month. And for the $8 a month, whenever you have anything that happens to your system, or whenever you need an inspection, the Maintenance Association pays 70%, the homeowner pays 30%. So the idea was to create something that would be affordable to try to make these things continue on for as long as they can. Wanted to give you a quick update on Camp Lakeview. Camp Lakeview has a development authority, which is sort of like a board, and in, it's been a while, it was 2001. We worked with the WVU to set up an agreement between the commission and the development authority, and at that point we created this board. Currently, there are people who participate to the board meetings that aren't board members. So when we had our meeting last night, they recommended that the commission that you would advertise to try to get some new board members on there. We've probably got 5 people who regularly come who would be happy to be board members. One of the thoughts was, I'm not sure when you could advertise what the process would have to be, but we might, our next meeting is May 13th, we might in the advertisement say, if you're interested, come to the meeting so people could really understand what in the world this thing is, so they know what they were jumping into.
So you want to advertise your meeting?
Well, I'd like to
For May
advertise
13th, and also advertise for board members.
for board members. That'd be
So
okay.
we can advertise for board members for the next meeting.
That's
Okay.
That's for the first Thursday, and then we can, they can put an application in
Great.
all this stuff.
Right.
And then the current members would do an application too, so we have application, the ones that want to be.
Continuing on. Okay.
Is that how you want to do it? or-
However you guys want to do it. is
What's
fine.
happened, people that have been members have just quit coming?
People who have been, their energy level just,
So how many
There's a board.
positions would we have to post for?
I think we could I think we could look at the current agreement between the authority and the commission and tweak it however you all would like it to be tweaked. Currently, it says 9 to 15 members. 9 is a lot of people.
How many active
Yeah.
members?
How many, who are official?
Yeah.
You and me.
So you can just have everybody reapply.
But we've got,
Yeah.
but we've got probably 4 of the people who always come.
Right.
So there's a core
Let's just,
group.
let's advertise for what, 7 board members, right?
Yeah,
Sound
raise
good?
the business.
Okay.
So-
And then just have the ones that are
Good, then.
participating now, just go ahead
Reapply.
and make sure that they, in their application process, put that they have been working with the board.
Okay.
in the meantime.
Okay,
That
maybe
way-
we'll give
that-
you.
Well, that way we
give
can
you
identify those people that, or you can do it and let us know which ones have been active already.
Great. Great. Okay, we'll get that done. When we met last night, talked about a couple different things. One is the Free Wednesdays program in the summer. We want to go ahead and do that. We're recruiting lifeguards, trying to get the food and feeding, all that. The other thing we're looking at is the possibility of putting solar panels up to have a very limited amount of DC kind of electrical stuff, having some lights in maybe with a refrigerator, but it would also be an educational, this is how solar works, and you can do this at your house.
Because you always use another
Right.
AC.
I don't know enough about it to make a good decision, but the people who.
Where I live, I've looked into it.
Have you?
So,
Okay.
yeah.
This guy is saying for our needs, that it makes, if we could do everything DC, it would lower, but all we're looking at is
Talking about lowering the upfront costs.
lowering the cost and making it more efficient. So, I don't know, we gotta find out, but we'll
As
be.
long as the cost of the AC went back.
Right, right. So we will bring you some recommendations and some ideas for that. Okay. I wanted to give you a copy of this. The first 3 are color, the ones after that tend to go to black and white, so if you want a color copy. Hey, this is an abbreviated report, final report to the Greater Kanawha Valley Foundation on the teen parenting initiative that we did. The county commission was actually put some money into this. If you look on the very back page, page 16, you'll see where the commission made a donation of $1,000 to the project. We started out with $36,000. We ended up with a total budget of $56,000. So the commission's generosity helped to leverage, more money coming in with this. This project did a couple different things. One, it continued the current teen parenting program, which is what we're doing for pregnant and parenting teens at the high school. We didn't need any money to do that. It was just part of what we said we were going to continue to do. Other two things it did, it gave us money to look into setting up a vocational opportunity, and now those things are called Career Technical Education Programs, CTE program, at the high school, and it was a CTE program that was an ECE thing, which is Early Childhood Education. And we were able to do enough research, figure out how to do it, and this past fall, at the high school, we established this Early Childhood Education program. It's a 2-year program. When students who take it for 2 years graduate, they are certified to become a teacher's aide at kindergarten, preschool, or to work in a child care center. So it's going to provide jobs for people, and it's going to up the knowledge of people who are doing that work. So that happened. The other part of the project was to do research and background into trying to establish a daycare academy at the high school. And I shared with the commission, and there's stuff in here about it too, that there is a lot of research that clearly shows that child care academies help teens stay in high school because they can leave their kids there and they can go to school. That it increases the young parents' ability to be good parents, and it also increases the knowledge in the little kids, so when they go to school, they do better at school. They're not a drain on the system. Unfortunately, the Board of Education last May unanimously voted to stop the research on that and not move forward with trying to establish this at the high school. It was real disappointing, but we still think it's a good thing. So I think what's going to happen next is that we're going to apply through the Appalachian Regional Commission at the state level for a Flex-E grant, and we've gotten Flex-E grants before, to do a feasibility planning study to see about establishing a child care academy in the community. How could we go about doing it? How could we fund it? Where could we do all those kinds of things? So
It'd still be a lot more difficult. I mean, to me, it's a lot easier if they could drop off their children in the facility as a training.
Yes.
Because you're looking at all kinds of logistics as
we
far as.
are. Yeah.
The other makes it tough.
It doesn't take. But maybe the feasibility study will help. In a couple of years, we may have a different Board of Education. Things change.
Well, one thing's for sure, you're going to have teens get pregnant, and you're going to have to address that situation eventually. And to me, and I, having been involved with other programs and with this, there's not anything you can do better than that. As far as I can see, as far as, these kids are not only continuing in school, they're learning how to take care of their children a lot better than they would have otherwise. They're learning what got them in the situation they're in and how to avoid that situation. And that's the whole essence in curbing the problem you have with teen pregnancies is education.
Exactly.
And to have
Bingo.
a board. And it really bothers me if the board would look at that and go, oh, no, none of us like that.
Can we get you back on that board too?
But I mean, it is, there's been so many studies, not just
Yes.
what we do here, but across the nation, across the world, that show that if you're going to give these teen mothers a chance, and teen dads a chance, you've got to give them the opportunity to succeed. And it's harder, as any of us know that have children young in life, it's harder after you have a child, not just to go to school, but to make a living. So, to me, it has to be done at that level. And commend you for the job you did in trying, and you showed that. You showed what the positive effects were. It's really, I don't know, you know, maybe it was a bad day for him or something of that nature, but I mean, when you look at what you can do to positively impact this situation, and not get involved with religion, religious beliefs and things like that, just deal with the education, and this is the way to do it. And it's really sad to see that they wouldn't.
Well, it may be that this fall, when we get ready to do the Flexi, we come to the commission to be the fiscal agent for the Flexi grant that we're applying for.
Are you still, this budget, I guess, was when it started, are you still?
That's all gone.
Okay,
We're
that's
all
what-
finished with this
You're done,
budget.
so
We're
you're not
all
gonna be
done.
able to do the Wednesday?
No, the Wednesday thing fortunately is free because all these agencies donate and support the program. They donate their people's time to come in and teach the little modules, and they pay for their mileage. So that's ongoing. So that's good. So that's going to continue. Yeah, fortunately. Good. Okay, let me give you another thing. The Farmland Protection Board, okay, which is something that the commission appoints. It's a very small board, and when we had our audit, and I'm sharing this because I'm assuming that there are other boards that face this same dilemma that we do. And the audit came back, and there was a section that they had on there called segregation of duties, which pointed out that we didn't have proper internal control, because ideally you have one person who opens the mail, another person then who makes the deposits, and then another person who writes the checks, and you know, this the kind of things we have going on here at the commission. But you've got paid staff, and we've got a volunteer board with one treasurer. So one of the things that we thought would be valuable both for us and for any group, we sort of went through and said, okay, we know, we don't have enough people, but here's the kind of things that we're doing for checks and balances. We can't do everything, but we're doing something to try to make sure that there's no malfeasance or whatever you call it, no shenanigans. So
John's not here.
So we got that going on. And the last thing I wanted to ask the commission to think about was, as we went through this, one of the things that I thought might be something that might help us would be to do some training for our boards in this kind of stuff. I don't know whether it would be annual or something like that. I'd be glad to work on that, where we talk about board legal obligations. Might do that for public service districts, so they understood some of these kinds of
What you pick up on the
things.
meeting acts and things like that.
Right,
sunshine
we
laws
could
and
do
stuff, yeah.
we could do something like that. I don't know whether it
Because I know
makes sense to have
this has kind of been a
flyer.
finding on some audits of some of our other.
I'm sure it has.
Because you just have just a defined number of people that will serve.
How do you do it?
Yeah,
So anyhow, so,
I think it's a good idea.
would you like,
You wanna
me
try?
to think about it a little more and come up with a little plan or
Yeah,
something?
let's do that.
Okay, all right, we'll do it. All right, thank you.
All right, we don't have anyone else for public comment, so let's go to the discussion, concern possible action. Stuff here. All right, we want to read into record the members of the Board of Health. We have Rosa Wiley, term expires on June 30th, 2018, represented from District 2 and a Democrat. Sharon White, term expires June the 30th, 2017, District 3, and she is a Democrat. Jerry Linville, term expires December the 31st, 2017, District 1, no party. Christy Scraggs, term expires December 31st, 2019, District 2, Democrat. And Joanne Elkins, term expires December 31st, 2015, District 3, no party. We just wanted to read those into record for all of us.
Where did we get that information from?
We got that information from the board.
Where the hell did
Yeah. So that's off the list. Next, I want to go ahead and jump down here to the Region 2 drawdown request and contractor debarment forms for Francis Creek. Let's go ahead and do that for Zach Brown.
Yes, I'm just here tonight with a couple forms for the Francis Creek project. The first being a small cities block grant drawdown. It is number 9 in the amount of $1,660.26. With that, I have the resolution, cover page, and financial documents and invoices. And also, I have what are called contractor debarment review certifications. The Francis Creek project has gone to bid, and the bids have been opened. That was last month. The 2 contractors with the lowest bids were Danny Sullivan Excavating for the line work and Eastern Tank and Utility Services for the tank job. Before we can award the contracts to them, I have to check the federal system to make sure we're not debarred from participating in federally funded projects. So I've done that check and brought the confirmation of that, and I just need the commission to sign that, President.
I make a motion to go ahead and allow the president to sign the drawdown request as presented by Zach Brown.
Can we do the debarment forms too? Is that on there?
We should probably do that as a second.
That's
So
separate, that's fine.
So we have a motion.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
With that unanimous, the motion carries. Then next would be the contractor.
Debarment review
So
forms.
I would make a motion that we give the president authority to sign the contract with debarment findings as presented by Zach Brown. Zach Brown.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. That being unanimous, the motion carries. Thank you, Zach. I think that's all. Might want to check that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I think we'll just skip up to the Coalfield Development Corporation.
Good evening.
Good evening, how are you?
Good, how are you? I'll give you the card first, or we'll forget. I'm Nikki Rowe Fortner. I'm Associate Director at Coalfield Development Corporation, and I'm here to ask the Commission to adopt the Lincoln County Community Design Housing Plan. A little background, Coalfield Development Corporation is a 501c3 nonprofit. We are an affordable housing developer, general contractor, and on-the-job training entity. We are in Wayne, Lincoln, and Mingo counties. We just expanded into Lincoln and Mingo in the fall. We already have a number of projects in Lincoln County. We're tearing down the bus stop in West Hamlin. We bought the old Henson building and are going to renovate that into rental units and office space. And we're working on purchasing Barbara Apartments and renovating that. That's still in works with USDA. And we're just looking for any projects, any ways to work with Lincoln County and the people of Lincoln County. So, we were funded by the West Virginia Development Office to hold a series of design meetings to develop this housing plan. We had performed one in Wayne County, and basically just a lot of members of the community, a lot of organizations in the county get together and they say, these are the challenges in the community, these are the strengths that we have, and so what can we do in order to improve the county and the community and to make it better. So we did this in Wayne County, and we identified priority projects. We identified community of Fort Gay as our primary target. We've helped them form a community association. We've purchased the old high school and are developing it into senior housing and community space. And it was a community that was riddled with prostitution and drugs, and now it's a safer place where people can go out and their kids are safe and there are things to do. And that's thanks in large part to the plan that was developed in Wayne County. And it was also adopted by the Wayne County Commission, which gave it a lot more legitimacy, and we were able to do a lot more with their backing. So, thanks to the development office funding, we were able to do this in Lincoln County. And we had a lot of involvement from a lot of organizations and people in the community that attended our meetings. We had David Atkins, Tammy Atkins from the Lincoln County FRN, Ferris Burton with Town of West Hamlin, Jason Cook from Center Point, Carlin Doyle Ferguson, members of the county, Olive Hager from Hamlin Town Council, Larry Stutler from the Lincoln County EDA, and former Mayor Chris Wilkinson all attended and gave input and helped us develop this plan. So the team developed a vision. The vision was quality housing that's affordable for all residents of Lincoln County, including seniors, young adults, professionals, veterans, and families of all types and sizes. And just creative housing solutions like mixed use, so buildings that are for housing and for community space or businesses. And the mission of the group was to we are working together to transform our communities by providing quality housing that's affordable for all Lincoln County residents. We identified strengths and challenges of the county, and this was a series of 4 meetings over 6 months. So there was a lot of dedication and a lot of people coming back and giving a lot of input for this plan. So we developed in the end 2 goals. We identified a number of housing and community development projects so that Coalfield could impart, but also with partnership from the commission, from the groups that we worked with, just to better improve the community and help in any way possible. So projects identified were the Henson Building, Barbara Apartments, working with Center Point Church on some projects that they have coming up, and hoping to get involved with some renovation on the old Bobcat building. So we've peeked into it. It's an excellent building, and we'd like to get involved with that in any way possible, our group would. And our second goal was just to come up with strategies in order to stay involved in the community. So getting the plan approved by the commission, performing a market study to see the housing needs in the community, working with the planning commission to see what we can do to work with them, just doing renovations of properties, tearing down dilapidated buildings where possible. Our on-the-job training crews also tear down buildings and then they reuse the materials for furniture. We resell them to anyone who's interested in purchasing them. And we are green, but so we try to use whatever we can possible. We try to incorporate green technology like solar panels and more environmentally friendly water heaters. So we've done that on a number of projects. So anything that is better for the environment and can also save money on the part of our tenants is good. So I think that's it. So our whole group, which luckily I have a lot of members here with me, like I said, we just ask that you would consider adopting this plan to give it legitimacy. And we as a group and Coalfield Development as an organization look forward to working with the commission in any way possible. Thank you.
You had a chance to review the design.
I really have.
Well, I'll tell you what, why don't we do this? You give other commissioners time to look at the plan. What we'll do is, we'll just table it to the next meeting. How about that? All right?
On these units that you, like you're talking about the Barber Apartments and things like that, you take those, you buy those or take those over, and you get like subsidized from low-income housing and things like that once you put people in those?
Yeah, the tenants receive vouchers. That makes it more affordable for them to stay there.
Okay, but the Coalfield Development receives the monies for that.
Yeah, but we're nonprofit. The money just revolves back into the project for maintenance and things like that.
Good. Yeah, that kind of leads us into, oh, by the way, we just, I move that we table, this document until the next meeting, give you all a chance to review
I'll
it.
second that.
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Table this until the next meeting, that we will have a chance to review it. And that kind of leads us to the next point, or our next topic is, which is the building permit fees, update. And the Lincoln County Planning Commission has been meeting, kind of established last year. And it's representatives, of course, I think you are familiar with this, from each district. So everyone is represented across the districts. And from the start of the Planning Commission, what we were doing was reviewing, the first thing we did was started reviewing our ordinances, because we have several ordinances that are on the books, and we really didn't have anyone looking at them, and we didn't have, to figure out what we have and what we're supposed to be doing. So, going through the floodplain ordinance, Rick Helton, who's our floodplain director, what he has done is, as we were moving through the floodplain ordinance, we found that there was there's a mention of building permit fees. So what we started doing was looking at our building permit fees and what we were charging as a county for building permit fees. Looking at our revenue, what we were taking in for building permit fees. And I think last year we took in about $5,000, give or take.
I think it's about.
But
What it was.
5,800. But what we were talking about, and I think I mentioned it some other times, was to try to update, to bring us up to 2015, and to look at our counties surrounding us as to what they are charging for building permits. And what we found is that Lincoln County only charges for residential building permits. We only have one permit, and it's for residential work. Whether it's construction, whether it's commercial work or, residential, it's all considered residential here. So one of the things that we did as a planning commission was we looked at the surrounding counties and what they were doing, and we developed basically an updated building permit fee, all right, which we all agreed on and moved to send it to the county commission. And with that new updated building permit fee, that would actually incorporate not just a residential building permit, but you would have a commercial element there as well. And we wanted to, and of course, while doing that, I think some of the concern was on our planning commission, when we were having our discussion, was that we didn't want to set a building fee that was so high, or too high, that it would be discouraging for people. So what we did basically with our residentials, we left it the same. And then we looked at the other counties around us, and we incorporated a commercial fee, which was lower than all the other counties. But we did actually distinguish between a residential and a commercial fee. And that's what we were bringing before the commission today. I'd like to have Rick Helton. Rick Helton is actually the man that writes the building permit fees, actually writes the building permits, and he can speak to what it is that you have to do and how this would affect the county commission and the Lincoln County Planning Commission.
Thank you, Commissioner. I apologize for the Tasmanian Devil Act I did in the prior meeting. I didn't realize there was another meeting going on. What I've presented to the commission for their review is basically a 3-page document that kind of sets out what our proposal is as the planning commission to amend the permit fee schedule, and seeking, of course, approval from the county commission. And if you'll look here on the front page, for those, you have the
copy. In the second bullet under discussion, it basically talks about our floodplain ordinance, section 7.10, which is fees. And it basically establishes a basis to charge fees, and a quote out of the quote out of that particular section of the ordinance says that the fees are intended to reimburse Lincoln County for services necessary for review and/or inspection of proposed development. Now, you might want to wonder what that word development means. In the ordinance, it has a kind of a broad-reaching definition on the second page under the first tile there. Development in our ordinance, and by the way, just for clarification, development in our ordinance is the same for the state. It's the state code, basically, and that's also approved by FEMA for the National Flood Insurance Program. But development is defined as any man-made change to improved or unimproved real estate, including but not limited to buildings or other structures, mining, dredging, filling, grading, paving, excavation, or drilling operations, or storage of equipment and materials. So when you go back to the first page, it talks about development. That's really, if we're talking technical with the ordinance, development is permitting basically a building fee, a permit fee. As Commissioner Matthews stated, the current fee that we have is, if you look back on the last page, comparison of neighboring county municipality permit rates. The top one is Lincoln County. And the way our schedule is currently set up is that if someone comes in and requests a building fee based on the cost of the development, if it's under $1,000, there's no fee process to that. And if it's between 1,001 and 1999, it's a $25 flat fee. And then it's $1,000. So if you look at a basic example there of a $100,000 project, our building fee is $124, which is quite a bargain when you look at the other counties that are listed below there. Logan County, the same project fee would cost $250. A residential project in Putnam County would be $130. A commercial project of the same amount of money would be $1,450. Cabell County, I could not get their commercial fee, but they do have a commercial fee, but that basically is their residential fee. It would be $115. Kanawha County, if I was to put on everything there Kanawha County charged, it would be a few more items on here, but just to round it up, they base their commercial base fee on whether it's in a floodplain or not in a floodplain. It's $350 per fee, per permit, plus $5,000 per thousand. So a $100,000 development project would be basically $850. And then a residential's is $350 for any amount of residential permitting, plus $1,000 per thousand. So that would be a $450 base residential fee for any type of residential work. Boone County, they divide theirs into floodplain and non-floodplain. $100,000 for non-floodplain would be $100. For floodplain, it'd be $1,250. And the cities of Danville, or the towns of Danville and Madison, are basically the same. If you look on page 2 here, go back to really what the proposal is about, or what we're asking the commission to approve. Is, and I have a typo there, I have to apologize, I didn't include the $1,001 to $1,999, but basically the current fee that we have is what the planning commission is asking to have for residential development.
So you're.
Same
so
thing.
It's the same thing, no change
No
from
change,
residential.
no change, no change whatsoever. The only thing we're asking to do is to basically develop a commercial permit schedule that we're not going to have as either a floodplain or non-floodplain like some counties do. It's just a straight residential fee approval, and a site plan review fee of $250 plus $10,000 or $10 a thousand. So a $500,000 development would be $5,250. Now I will tell you that we just recently, the county just recently wrote a fee for a development in West Hamlin that was about $325,000, and the fee there was $500, $520-something. for a $500,000, for almost a $500,000. When it's finished, it'd be about a $500,000. So it'd be another permit going in for signage and things of that nature. They're coming in for a second permit. But so there's a little bit of gap in money between $500 or $320-something and the $5,000 project.
Let me ask you something. So have we been charging the same price for commercial permits as residential
Yes.
permits? That's what we've been doing up to
Yes,
now.
and that was before my tenure started in August. And that fee basis was based on the 1987 ordinance that carried that over. It was established then, and it's basically been the same on the update. And
Which basically is a lot lower than surrounding counties.
a lot lower than surrounding counties. In fact, just for conversation here, I guess, or for the board, it would be, when businesses call me and ask about permitting, they're astounded that we charge almost nothing for permitting. Now, the intent, if I may pass on from what our board members came up with, the intent is not to inhibit commercial development. It's not to cause people to have problems with coming into Lincoln County, but the surrounding counties are getting development brought into it, and they're getting the fees. And the fees would go toward, I think, our proposal here, and I'm speaking as a planning commission member, our proposal here would be going to things like our dilapidated and abandoned buildings ordinance enforcement, that we're already got a $10,000 grant from the bad buildings, and we're also applying for a flexi grant. I will ask for permission through the commission to apply for a flexi grant for another $10,000, but we only have in-kind money right now to work off of. In other words, basic salaries and employees and volunteers to do.
Which I think is two different things we're looking at. I mean, I think, looking at, as far as where these monies go
Right,
versus whether we're gonna change the permit fee schedule and things like that.
That's correct.
Now, you made a comment it wouldn't run away small business. Is that why you have the permit fee the same up to $100,000 small
Right.
business?
That was one of the things that was talked about in our commission meeting, was that we didn't want to run off the small entrepreneurs, the mom and pop businesses, as it was termed. We wanted to leave that, so that basically is the same as if it was a residential.
I think that's a
development.
good thinking, because, our county, even though we do have some big corporate players here, the people, as far as the middle class and the small business and things like that, I think that has a lot less impact than what some of the other counties are doing for those particular type people. At least we're making some type of exception for the small business people trying to start, because those are the ones that have less capital to develop and things like that.
Home-based businesses and things they want to build on to.
I don't think it was brought up by Glenn Turtle. Glenn was, I think, whenever we were talking about that, Glenn was very adamant about, when we're talking about small business up to $100,000, and we was leaving the same. I think it was Glenn did, just to give Glenn props on that.
And by the way, when I did talk to, there was a move at first, we were going to come to the commission to ask for a amendment to the ordinance. But I talked to the state coordinating office today, to the director, and he said basically our fee basis is already set in our ordinance. It would be his recommendation that we just, instead of having to go through public readings and things of that nature, since a fee basis has already been established, to bring this up to the commission as a commission vote on it, and then we could post it in the paper and our websites and things of that nature going forward.
You said we do not have a Lincoln County floodplain ordinance permit fee. Is that correct? So if you build in the floodplain, you do not have to pay additional fees because it's in the floodplain?
Correct.
No, that's one of the
What
things
is-
that we left out. We left that alone because I think it was like, because some of the other counties distinguish between the floodplain and the non-floodplain.
Because of the review process, it takes more work to develop a permit and go through the site plan reviews and things of that nature, as you know.
So you're asking to add that into an additional fee, or you're?
No.
But what is this?
I
It
did,
says,
I typed something
to
up.
bring the rates more in line with surrounding counties.
I think that's, I didn't know, I took that to be what the corporate
The,
rates would be.
that's for the residential. Oh, this is for the, what he's talking about here, to amend the Lake County floodplain ordinance permit fee. He's talking about, this means the, commercial rate, because we're not gonna change residential at all.
Currently, the ordinance does not differentiate between it just says a fee for development. So in the past, development was whether it was residential or commercial. Going forward, what the planning commission is asking that we establish a residential rate and a commercial rate.
So we wouldn't have to change the ordinance to do that?
No, we would not, according to the state office that approves these. Kevin Sneed.
So the only thing that we would be adopting as a commission is we would be adopting a commercial business permit, which you would have, which would be different, for projects over $100,000.
But you'll
Correct.
submit something, I mean, I know this is just to
Yes.
begin the process, but when it gets down to it, you will submit something more specific for us to vote on, like our,
I can, if
This
that's
is-
what the commission, if that's what you want, I'd be glad to kind of delineate,
because
give
I
you
need to
more
look into
examples.
this a little bit more, I feel like, to have a
The more-
better.
And that's fine, I think it's a good idea. And what we'll do is, we'll just table this till the next meeting
Okay.
and, give everybody a chance to look at it. And then here's the thing, and if there's any questions, then, you know, you're the guy that writes the building
Well, what
permit.
is this, to approve to include the building permit fees in the floodplain ordinance?
I put that in there because,
That's under to vote on.
well, the thing about it is like, whenever we were discussing this in our planning commission meeting, our discussion was that we needed to put this in the ordinance. And after review with Rick reviewing with the guy from the state, the man from the state says basically that we don't have to do that. So I was gonna actually strike that out.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's better to have it in there so we can vote on it.
We could,
if
and
not-
that's also to the commission, if the commission wants to go through actually amending the ordinance and going through the public readings and such, of course, that's the commission's decision on that.
Will anything that, you know, you and I talked about, you having something with the state come in and talk to us about the floodplain ordinance and things like that. Is anything they'll tell us differ with this, or will it change anything as far as what, okay? Because I mean, I think this pretty well kind of,
What I was told by Mr. Sneed today was that the only thing that they approved is the fact whether or not it's compliant with the West Virginia model ordinance and the FEMA model ordinance. If we want to establish a fee, that's all he cares about. He said he didn't care if we charged a penny, 1,000, or, you know, 1,000. He didn't care.
One
It's
of
just
the
the
things
fee was
one of the
established.
points of having this guy come down and talk with us, with you, is to let us know, when these people go to build things, so what do they have to do if they're in the floodplain, not in the floodplain, what's it going to cost them, and things like that. Because I think there's some, not disagreement, but some unknown qualities about that that we don't understand. That's basically what I wanted to present, have you present to the commission, it's basically what you operate under as far as directive from the state, so that when people come to us and say, gosh, this Rick Helton's over here and he's charging me $2,000 to do this, we'll know a little bit more about why you had to do that, you know, and I think
And I
that's,
appreciate that.
well, I think that allows all of us, including the public, to know too, because if we've not been charging things we're supposed to be charging, and we start charging, they're gonna say, oh man, they done this or they done that. And I would like them to know that we basically, they've been getting a lot of breaks here versus other counties, as far as these permit fees go. And, you know, of course, I think everybody will say, well, you know, Lincoln County's tight on money and needs this, and we do. But I think we ought to, you know, if we're gonna do it cheaper than the surrounding counties, then I don't see how it would be a problem in instituting, because basically we haven't been charging commercial permit fees.
Right.
I mean, we have been, but they've been basically based upon what a residential fee is.
Well, and also, the commercial businesses, there's an education process. What I found was, when I took this job over, that a lot of people don't understand what the flood ordinance is. And so, most of my time has been really spent trying to educate and trying to help people understand where we're at with this. And then the fee basis is basically, as the ordinance says, it's to reimburse the county for services provided, which, you know, that you can look at that a couple different ways. But for the commercial side of the house, there's a lot of commercial businesses that don't get permits. I would have to say, most don't get permits. So, there's a lot of income that, or revenue could be generated to go towards things that the county really needs to put some money into.
Well, I think it's a matter of fairness too. You got an individual out here who wants to put 2 rooms on his house, and he has to pay a permit fee. And then you've got somebody who wants to build a $6 million substation up on the head of 9 Mile there to pump, you know, and I don't even know what went on there, you know what I mean? But I'm
Yes.
sure there were fees that should have been, that they would have had to pay to another county that they didn't pay here. And I think that is not fair in a couple of ways. One, to the individual that goes in to get a permit fee and has to pay for it and does obey the law. And the other, that the cost, and it's not, I'm sure, if they knew that was what we required, they would do it. But I would, you know, I'm just like, I guess any corporation, if I knew I could get away cheaper in Lincoln County, I would rather do it in Lincoln County and things like that. But I think we can offer that to them cheaper than the other counties, plus still be fair to those individuals that have to get building permit fees and things like that, because and I'm not knocking any of our corporate partners, and I wish they'd give us more money and help our communities and things like that, but I do think we all have to play the same laws.
Well, if I may add, with the Coalfield Development Corporation, their research committee or their research company that they hired called me about the Barber Apartments. And one of the questions that they had was what the fee basis would be, this, that, and the other. And the lady on the other end of the phone was basically astounded at what the fee would be to purchase that piece of property and renovate it. And which it's a good deal. I mean, it's a great deal for the company. But it still can be a good deal for the company, and the county collect some revenue that could be used for other things.
Because, you know, the taxpayers pay us a lot, and I'm sure that any help that corporate America can help us with, you know, we need to make sure at least they're paying their share.
You know, everything's gonna be the same, up to $100,000.
$100,000.
I mean, you know, whenever you go over $100,000, then all you're really adding is $10 per thousand. That's
Correct.
it. And I mean, you know, and it's not
You're
really-
talking about these companies, a lot of those companies get their permits and stuff, have to get permits, not for the building, they're obviously the substation, but they get a lot of their permits for roads and things like that through the DEP. You know, they pay permit fees through them.
And when they do that, do they not also pay building permit fees for the county?
No,
No.
they don't. They don't. And this again is part of what the education process is for, not only for myself learning it, but for others in the county, is that one of the requirements in the ordinance and in the floodplain ordinance is before I can write a permit, I must have all the other state and federal fees or permits available to write that permit. So it's being done in a vacuum. You know, the DEP's getting money, it's not the money, they're getting permitting around the ways, but they're charging for their services as what we're proposing to do. And Lincoln County's in this hole in the middle of all that going on around us, and I just feel personally, and this is a personal opinion, I just feel personally that we're missing out on a small portion of funds that would help our county.
But we wouldn't be charging them any more than Boone County.
No, but the thing about it is, the big kicker here is the other surrounding counties are getting those fees, and we're not.
I talked to Chuck Grishaber, who's the floodplain manager in Kanawha County here several months ago, and when I got these things, and I'm thinking, wow.
I guess I'm getting confused on what floodplain and permitting, getting a permit, really. If you're not in the floodplain,
Well,
I guess I'm getting confused on that.
What, any development in the county, whether it's in the floodplain or not in the floodplain, you have to have a building permit fee, according to the floodplain ordinance. You have to have permitting. And like if I'm doing construction at my house in Samarica,
But
then,
you obviously aren't in the floodplain.
yeah, but it
what
doesn't
does that-
matter. Like if I'm doing any type of construction in my house and it's under $1,000, I don't have to pay a fee. You know, I still have to go in and ask him for a building permit, but you know, he's gonna say, well, what are you doing? I'm saying this. He was like, well, that's under $1,000, you don't pay a fee. If it's over $1,000, then I would pay a $25 fee
And I think
for a
also,
permit, and he has to come out and observe it and look at it.
doesn't the assessor also track new building by that way?
Absolutely.
So he knows how to change the tax.
I'm required to send building permits to the assessor so that they can assess the tax issue. If I can explain it, if I can try to explain that, because it was hard for me to understand, just because this is called and I have somebody straighten me out on this. Just because it's called a floodplain ordinance, what it's doing is anybody's doing any of this man-made or man-made changes to unimproved or improved property, even though it's in a floodplain ordinance, what you're really doing is making a determination that it's not in the floodplain. Does that make sense? I mean, if somebody says I'm up on the side of a hill somewhere and it's never been flooded in 80 years, and I hear that every day.
So any permit, basically,
Any
you're
permit.
saying, any permit. if
Any,
it's in the
any,
town of
de-
Hannibal or
any
Sparrow
development,
Mountain, it has to go through the flood.
any development. It's just like if they have to go to the DEP or the DNR, the Corps of Engineers, or any of those other folks to get their work completed, it's the same thing. Now, so it doesn't matter whether they're in the floodplain or not, it's a flood determination. Are they in the floodplain or not? And that determination is being done by the ordinance. So if they're out of the floodplain, we're not making any distinction. If they're in the floodplain, we're not making any distinction, which is,
Some of the counties do.
some of the counties do that.
But we are not going to.
They're not doing, no, that's not the proposal that the commission's coming.
No, we talked about that, was whether we're gonna make this, you know, or whether we're gonna differentiate between somebody being in the floodplain and somebody that's not. And one of the things I brought up was that, you know, over where I live, there may not have been a study done. You know, and if there's not a study done, it's considered in the floodplain. So that those people would be paying an extra fee just because there may not have been a study done.
Or they would have
If I'm
to
correct.
pay, or they would have to pay a fee to have it surveyed to prove they weren't in the floodplain.
Right, but the thing about it is, with what we're gonna do, I mean, with what the proposal is, we're not gonna differentiate between being in the floodplain or not.
Well, I think that helps your individual
Yeah.
homeowner and things too, if they will
And
do things.
it really helps the businesses that come in because they don't have to worry about the extra fees for engineering studies, which we don't have a county engineer to do. And things. So it wouldn't be fair for us to really try to apply that, and we don't have a county engineer to do that, that we'd have to pay to go out and do that. But basically, development is, the floodplain ordinance stipulates permitting to be done for a determination of floodplain, whether they're in the floodplain or not. And if they're not, then, or if they are, there's different rules to how you develop in those
Right.
areas.
But regardless, if you're gonna do any type of improvement or whatever, you have to have a building.
Correct.
And that's what we're addressing.
Correct. Correct. And, you know, there's all kinds of stuff going on that, it's an education process. And, I mean, I had a gentleman just walk in here just a few minutes ago before I came running in here a little while ago, and he was in a panic that someone told him he had to have a permit, and he sat him down and gave him a bottle of water and just said, hey, it's okay, it's just, no, you don't need a permit for what you're doing. It's an education issue, and, but I've also had people come in and say, hey, I understand I gotta get a permit, let's do it right, let's go forward and let's do it. So I think there's middle ground in between both of those. And,
Well, the question is now, do we wanna approve this fee schedule? And that's, the proposed fee schedule from the planning commission.
Is it urgent that there's no urgency?
There's no urgency
that.
here.
You mentioned about needing more information, so before what more
Well,
information
I mean, I think you
can I provide the
clarified.
commission?
I was getting confused with, because it was floodplain and just permitting, but because before you came on board, we had a person who gave out permits, and we had a person who was a floodplain manager. You know, so I guess I was thinking about it as two different entities.
Yeah, before you came on, you know, you had Guy Brown who was a floodplain, and then there was another guy that did.
Steve
Permit.
Thomas.
Yeah, the permitting. And there was no really you know, I don't think that there was a,
Regular continuity.
yeah, that's a good word.
Well, I think what happened was when the state model ordinance changed on October 16, 2013, they incorporated a lot of those two together in that model ordinance.
Yeah.
And for us to go forward, we had to adopt, as you well know, that ordinance for Lincoln County that included those things that were required in the state model ordinance.
And remember, and we've said, and like our planning commission has said, and we hashed this out, and we've done this since last year. And bringing this here, you know, bringing this fee schedule, and just like what Rick said, you know, this hasn't been changed since '86,
The 87 ordinance.
'87, since 1987. It's 2015. And everybody who has been coming in, if you're doing construction that's over $100,000, you've been getting charged the same as a residential. And the thing, we're really not, the only thing we're doing is actually adding just the commercial rate on there.
Correct.
And
That's the only thing-
everything
that's
up to
actually what we're doing.
$100,000 is going to be the same.
It's the only thing we're doing.
Well, I think the thing that, with the change in 2013, the guy worked with us on that we had to do, I think that kind of added emphasis to do this, because we have to be compliant with what we adopted at that time versus, because we had to decide, we were looking at where the floodplains were and things of that nature, and we had to follow those forms so that when FEMA comes in, I think it's because FEMA will audit us later on, and come in and look at the floodplain building that goes on. And I do know that that was part of the thing we've done then that we hadn't done in the prior 10 years. So as far as know exactly, and know that there was going to be an emphasis put on this, and that it wasn't going to be monitored by FEMA. And that's basically the only change that I remember, you know, since I've been in 2000, that we've had to do. But, you know, I want to thank you for the work you've done on this. I know, because one of the most important things I think we can do is make sure we're doing what our surrounding counties are doing. So that we're not losing out on revenue, or we're not doing something wrong and things of that nature. And I think this brings a lot more of that to light, and I appreciate the work.
Sorry, did I?
There's a question about the Kanawha County.
Kanawha County, if you build something in Kanawha County, if you build it in Lincoln under this permit for $500,000, you would be paying $5,250, all right? That's what you've got on here.
Yeah.
So we
Yes.
figured it up quick here in Kanawha County, right now, the way they're doing it. If you would build something for $500,000, the rate would only be $2,850. So that's a little bit,
You're looking on the floodplain
For
commercial
the-
fee?
yes.
Okay.
well, we'll hash it out, we don't have to.
Well, I'll go back and I'll verify all these again, just to make sure I have them right. And,
We just don't wanna put ourselves,
no, we don't want to purchase ourselves out of this, but if I just want to throw one thing out, I think the main reason the commission, or the planning commission looked at this to begin with was, we saw that we were charging a fee, but we didn't have a fee base to refer to in writing. And that's how this whole thing got started, was, okay, if we're gonna do this, if we have a fee that's gonna be charged, and it's not actually delineated in our ordinance.
Well,
How do we-
I
how
think it's
do-
important to get it down on paper, because when you go to talk to these commercial people and they're gonna do these things, you know, they have to know, we have to know where we're at too. You know, because I don't wanna come to me and say, well, how come I done this last year and had to pay $25 and now I'm having to pay $500-600, whatever. But I mean, I think you explained it pretty well and stuff, but I think it's gonna take time for the community, especially the corporate community, to realize that that these changes will be enacted, or if we do enact them, what they are. So I think we need to make sure that you or someone sends a letter to all the corporate people we have in the county and say, you know, look, we want to let you know that before the charges were this, but this is, we've come into compliance with what most surrounding counties are, and we want to let you know this is our process now. And actually send them you know, information about that, so that because, you know, they're gonna make decisions on where they're gonna put monies and stuff, you know, and I think it's only fair that they know it's gonna cost them a little bit more to do it in Lincoln County than what it did before. But the way it looks to me like, I mean, other than that one thing she was talking about there, is it's cheaper to do it in Lincoln County than it would be in Boone County or in those surrounding counties. So
Right.
I don't think we're pricing ourselves out, but then again, I think we're still giving the average Joe, makes him feel a little bit better, because he has to go pay for his permit fee, and he knows that, the other people do too, so.
Well, there's for one last comment, there's a fairly large oil gas company that's doing some work in Lincoln County, and they came to me and asked if they needed a permit, and I told them yes. And basically what they're looking for now, they said, well, we pay in all these other counties, but how? I said, well, how do you pay? They said, well, we lay out a 6-month schedule of what we're gonna do, and then they do a 6-month fee, or based on it, and it's prorated and it's less than what they would do if they had to do it job by job by job. So that's one of the things I'm trying to gather some information on to try to.
Because we really want to work with them.
There are people looking to do this, in the business world.
But like I said, I think the important thing is if we adopt this, that we make sure that we make an extra effort to inform corporate entities in the county that we have done this, and I think that's all we can do, and I think they would appreciate that too. And because, I know, we do some things differently in Lincoln County, but we're, as best we can, we've been trying to get up to do the way all the other counties do, so, and I think this puts us in a step in the right direction.
Well, I'll tell you what,
Any other questions I could answer here or later, please.
if you all
let me
want to
know.
put up for a vote tonight, if you want to, what we'll do
Thank
is you all want some time to look at it, we'll table it till the next meeting.
I motion to table it to the next meeting.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Table. All right, next is, on the same line, is the, when building fees are collected, we were, the Lincoln County Planning Commission would like to be able to use those building permit fees to help us with, tearing down of, abandoned houses, dilapidated buildings, different things that we're doing in the county beautification. And that was one of the things that was brought up in our meeting, is that, we have, I think we collected maybe almost $6,000 last year, and we were hoping that the county commission would look favorably onto us and what we're doing to allow us to use that building permit money to do this, basically county cleanup is what it is. Tonight we should have a fully constituted dilapidated buildings board, and we've all been really instrumental in getting that board together so that I think, so they can start working, identifying. We have a plan that we're doing with the town of Hamlin, where once we get the dilapidated buildings on board, we're actually working with the town of Hamlin so we can identify buildings to be, to be taken down. And this comes, and this comes with, there's a price to pay with that, and I know that we've all discussed that. We've been looking at grants. I think Rick actually wrote a grant for $10,000 to help us, and that's with the bad buildings. And we're working on another grant as we speak. But we were hoping that the county commission would kind of earmark the building permit money to help the Lincoln County Planning Commission with our endeavors.
Now, does the code allow the dilapidated, I know when we were dealing with the dilapidated building authority before, there was a procedure you had to go through to condemn those properties and things like that. And you had to you had to basically inform the owner that you were going to do it, why you were going to do it, and they'd come before us and let us know what step they were in. My question would be, if we give you all the building permit fees, are you under code allowed to do all those things your own, or do you have to come before us to have us declare that building unsafe? I mean, that's one of the things I'd like, if you haven't looked into it, I'd like it looked into, because the reason being is once those things are done that way and you have to actually clean up a place, who's going to handle suing the people you clean the place up to get your money and stuff? Is that all going to be done, or can it be done through your all's dilapidated building committee, or does that have to come before the commission to be approved? I don't know, because I know we had to approve it before. Once the dilapidated building committee went through all the steps they were required to do, then they brought that information before us and we told them to go ahead with it. So we need
That's
to,
the process.
yeah, and I
But we
think-
would have to we would use gate work to do that.
okay, well, I was just saying is that how much,
Which the brownfield is going to enlighten us, I guess, what.
that's one of the questions to ask them as far as the procedure.
Train us on how.
Because if you guys are going, you know, because I don't know how much money's involved in trying to get each place declared that, because I think there may even have to be some kind of a notice put up and things like that. But depending upon how much money it will cost you all to do that would determine whether we give you that money, you know what I'm saying? If we're still gonna have to do things that's gonna cost us money at the commission level, then I'd want to know that too.
Well, he said earmark. Do you mean, right now it's going into general county? The permit money that you've been collecting goes into general county revenue. Are you wanting us to, I assume, continue doing that and just earmark it in there? So when you need it, you can come to us
Well, I
and
mean,
request it?
I mean,
I would feel that would be,
I mean, if you think that that's fine, that's fine. That's fine with me. I think what we were looking for was, you know, that we know that if we do need money, and
X
that,
number of dollars.
and you know, and that's kind of what we came up with as a committee, you know, we were saying, you know, this is a good, you know, if we, because we were looking at the building permit fees,
We're never going to end money cost.
you know, we're going to run into money, and
We gotta
what this
advertise.
can do is this is kind of like a solution to our problem, and we could use some of this to actually clean up our county. And that's one of the things that we were doing. Would you like to speak?
Yeah, I just got one comment. It's like we clean up the buildings. You know, the property value next to the building's gonna go up. That means more revenue for the county all the way around. So it's a win-win situation if we get rid of these eyesores.
Well, I think but I think one of the things is to, you know, just come out and say, hey, listen, we'll use this money to help you all with what you're doing. And, Rick, did you like to say?
Well, what I just wanted to kind of refer to the bottom of the page of that document I gave you, the commissioners earlier. Basically what, taking from our plan commission, is requesting the directed funds be, from the fees collected into an underlying county commission account for use by the LCPC for approved projects, approved by the Lincoln County Commission, approved projects, to spend that money for approved projects. That's what I put in there. And I think that's what we had
Yeah, that's
talked
what we
about.
decided.
So it's not us basically saying, well, we're gonna spend it on this, and we're not gonna run it through the county.
Well, I think
understood it.
that's the thing we want, or at least maybe that's what Phoebe was talking about. I don't mean to talk for you, but I think that's what you were going for, is, I don't have any problems at all knowing that you guys are going to incur expenses with this thing. So, but I think that if we had, we could, you know, I'd feel better maybe in the line item for that we'd have available for you guys, that you all could say, we need such and such. I don't think I'd feel comfortable saying you get all the permit fees for all, because we don't know what that number is gonna be, we don't know what your all's expenses. There may even come times that we have to come up with more monies for you guys to do your job, you know, and because there's a lot of places in the county that are unsafe and unhealthy and things like that. And of course, you know, these things can, you know, I think you guys are already working with the Coalfield development things there, and I think that's something we all have to do is work together on this. And then to me, you know, I'd have no problems saying, you know, the permit fees would be put in a line item, and as you guys need it, and you say we need them, we'd approve to give them to you. I have no problems with that. I mean, I think-
We're going to have a conference in Vegas or nothing like that.
Yeah.
Well,
I trust you, but I don't know about the next mayor, you see. So.
But I think that's what we wanted to do, is kind of get a commitment from the county commission, you know, with you all, to use that money, to be able to come to the county commission and say, listen, this is what we're doing, and, you know, knowing that we could have a source of revenue here, and we could use this money to kind of help us out. Because you know, in the beginning, we're gonna need seed money to actually get this thing going. And I think after we find out with, you know, with what we can do as far as, when we condemn a building, maybe putting the liens on property, selling property and stuff like that, maybe it will start, you know, we'll start getting back, you know, our money for that. It's kind of like just a process. So, do you want to do a motion that you know, that we were going to,
do you think we need to wait till we establish what we're gonna do about the fees and?
It's whatever you'd like, I mean, whichever direction you want to go. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, I think that, you know, I can understand there's gonna have to be some funding. And I think as long as the commission controls that funding to you guys, I don't have a problem.
Well, I don't either, so I guess we could do that.
But
part.
it's up to you,
Yeah.
if you want to.
Doc,
Uh-huh.
would be just more like a drawdown situation, when you know, here's the bill.
That's
Yeah,
what,
you
You know,
gotta
and
say, we're at this point of this process where we're gonna have to remove it, or we're gonna
Yeah.
have such and such monies to do this with. And then you'd say, come to us and say, just like
Yeah.
we did with a small city, just say, we're gonna do this. And I'm thinking that we're probably gonna have to be involved anyway in condemning
Yeah.
these buildings, so, but you guys can find out more about that. But I, you know, I have no problem in making a motion, we go ahead and put this into a line item for, the LCPC, as far as the permit fees that are generated. And, you know, I think we can review this as needed, as far as whether it's working or not working, things like that.
yeah, we got a motion on the floor, do you say?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That be unanimous, motion carries. All right. Next, we have, no unfinished business, and then we have new business. I'd like to strike out the, including the building permit fees and the floodplain orders. We've now, since the, publication of the agenda, we don't need that now, with new information. And on, the one right above that, where it says Jason Edwards of the Dilapidated Buildings Committee, Commissioner Harless is going to recuse herself on that vote. So I move that we approve all new business except the appointment of Jason Edwards, which we'll do after this. So there's a motion on the floor to approve all new business except the appointment of Jason Edwards.
I move that we approve all new business except for, the appointment of Jason Edwards.
I second that. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That being unanimous, motion carries. Next up, I move to appoint Jason Edwards to the Dilapidated Buildings Committee.
I'll second that.
And note that, any further discussion, note that Commissioner Harvest recused herself on that vote. Motion carries. All right. Next, we have commission concerns. Do you have anything, Ms. Harless? Do you have anything?
Not much, not much. I just wanted to mention to the commission that, Dave Birch with the library on the library committee approached me the other day seeking some, if any, kind of funding to help with the building of the new library at Guyan Valley, in front of Guyan Valley High School down, next to the Wildcat Health Center. They've already, they have some funding already available for that. They're going to put it out to bid. It's approximately a $250,000 project. And I just want to bring the commission that he did request if we do find any monies anywhere that he would appreciate some for that project. The other thing I wanted to mention was, I know you all been watching the things that went on with Hatfield McCoy as far as reorganization by the state legislature and auditor of the Hatfield McCoy Recreational Trail Authority. Due to that reorganization, I'm no longer eligible to serve because I'm not a landholder in the area contiguous with the trail system. I talked with the executive director, Jeff Lusk, and he feels that Ferrisburg could continue to serve as the EDA's representative, and Ferris has made the meetings and things like that, and so I have no problem with that. But he is talking with the landowner of the area, the Ivy Branch, about possibly being on Hatfield McCoy's Recreational Trail Authority. Once he talks to him, he'll get back with the commission as far as appointing him to that position and things of that nature. But basically what happened was they had operated several years as a quasi-state agency, and basically I think they operated under some of the rules that they should have, and maybe some of them they didn't do right, and so they're under much more stringent evaluation and things of that nature as far as the way they run their business and the way they receive funding and things of that nature. So, but if Mr. Moore doesn't want to be on the system, be on the Recreational Trail Authority, I think the attorney, Mr. White, Ben White, is interested in that. He owns some property contiguous with that Hatfield McCoy Trail system at Ivy Branch, and he may be interested. But I don't have anybody in particular, other than I do know that Mr. Lusk was going to talk with Mr. Moore, the landowner over there, and see if he'd like to be on that trail authority. And in other counties, that's the way they do it too. So, I mean, it's not, we're not doing anything different than what the other counties are doing now as far as rearranging that board and things of that nature. But I just wanted to bring that before the commission, and when I hear any more about it, I'll let you all know. That's all I have.
Hey, I was gonna mention the West Hammond Library as well. I think it's a great endeavor if we choose to maybe put some money into that, probably maybe this fall if we could. Next, I really want to say I appreciate you guys coming from the Lincoln County Planning Commission. I know, you know, we've been meeting since last year, and this is what, every 2 weeks. We've been meeting every 2 weeks, going through all these ordinances. Really doing some heavy lifting because things haven't been done for years. And I just want to say I appreciate you all taking the time, and I know it's a long drive from where you live, and it's a long drive for a lot of people to come over here. And I really appreciate the effort that you put into this. Another thing, I appreciate Rick, you getting that BAD grant to help. And I know that you're working on other grants. And also, with the flooding situations that we've had, there is some light at the end of the tunnel there. I mean, we've already set up, with our tours from Hamlin down through Yawkey. We're going to receive, and we're the only county in the state of West Virginia that's going to receive $100,000 for an Army Corps of Engineers to come in and do a study to help us to alleviate those problems that we have down there. And I mean, that's really, really big for our area. And I know that there's a lot of other places that have been hit hard, but I know one thing that we know is, that place gets hit almost every year, several times.
Would the $100,000 be, because they were talking about it at the EDA, would that $100,000 be for the study? And then once they figured out the problem, what could be done, then who would come in to help us correct it?
It's the Army Corps of Engineers.
They would continue to
They're
fund
gonna-
them?
Yeah, they're gonna do the study and tell us what we need, really what needs to happen. And then we're gonna go through ARC, Army Corps of Engineers, to try to get the money to put that plan into effect. And I mean, that's a big deal.
Doing a trout pond too.
There you go.
Right there, I know a good place for it. It's right beside the football field.
First step.
5 acres, 5 acres.
It's a pond most of the time.
It's a pond most of the time. It wasn't a stock trout.
But that's the in-kind grant. It's not money to the commission, it's money.
Yeah.
Pay for their time and expenses to come down here to set up a framework for us to not only address Hamlin to Yawkey, but also to address other areas in the county once we get that framework set up.
Yeah, and the thing about it is they're doing it. We're not doing it. They're doing it.
But we're the lead in their, we're the lead in their efforts, so.
Definitely the lead.
That'll start here in another 2 months, we'll have to start
I mean,
having meetings.
I hate for you all to spend all your time and $100,000 and then nothing really ever.
Well, in order to do anything, we had to have a study to begin with. I mean, in order for them to even come in here and talk about doing it, I mean, they're not going to come in.
There's no match to that,
There's no
100%
match.
funding on there, so we didn't have any
They said
money
that-
in that, I guess.
And that was one of, when we were doing that tour, that was one of the things that they said, the first thing that we have to do is we have to do a study. And we got denied the first time, and then
Yeah, we got
went
denied.
right after it again, and they granted it to us because they saw the need. I think we got denied, and I think there was a flood, and I think that they found out, and they
There was some
gave it to us
mysterious
as well.
pictures showed up in the court.
Dave?
Doc brought up the trout thing. I do have the letter here that we sent, you remember, about a month ago asking for an easement up there. They've not responded to any of that. I talked to Jeff Eldridge up there, and he said that he would be glad to send this out from that level if we wanted to do that. I didn't want to pursue that till I
Where
talked to
did
you
we,
all.
who did we send that to? Was it to Forest
This
Lane?
went to Heartland,
Oh, okay.
Forest Lane.
Forest Lane, man, okay.
but, they just kind of, we've
Yeah,
not heard anything.
Yeah.
And I've made several phone calls.
Well, the next thing that I wanted to say is that people from ARC came down, and Mary and I, and they, the people from ARC, we went down to the data report center, and working on some funding for training for people who've been laid off, and that's through ARC, and hopefully we can we can get everything squared away for that. That could be up to $400,000 worth of funding, so.
Was it for technology
It's
primarily? or-
Technology training for people so that they can have technology skills. I think it's federal. So
No match on our end.
there is an in-kind contribution, but I think we can meet that with the things that we're doing without us having to put
Well, and
in of
I
our
know-
passion to it.
I know in the Workforce West Virginia, you know, they also have retraining programs for minors and things like that. I sit on that board.
And and that was the thing, and I think that was one of the reasons I think we want to get that, is because the nearest training center is like in Huntington, and the other training center is in Charleston. So there's nothing in Lincoln County, so they were really happy about having a training center here. And I really think that we could really get some money for that.
So the training center would have to be located at the day report center?
Training center will be at the day report. I mean, if we get the funding, I mean, you know, but that's how I'm writing it up. I'm writing it up that way. Yeah, Robbie went down there on,
Monday.
Monday. I don't tell him, there's a lot going on. And he went down, he figured out, you know, how many computers we have to have, but anyway, we're working on that. But anyway, I don't have anything else. I'm moving to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.